course, it has a tremendous effect on confidence in the United States, but it's a very poor thing to do at this time. S&P has a lousy record of predicting AAA and other downgrades. And why would they do it now? Why not in 2008 when everything was crashing? Now, as far as the unfunded liabilities of the federal government, people have known that for years. And we are starting to address them. They shouldn't have done it at this time. And the other two raters, Moody's and Fitch, have not. So I think when people wake up and the markets recover from the confidence, they'll see that this is a minor thing and a mistake. Well, a lot of people are saying the market may drop, but other people may wake up and say, look, this is a good time to buy, and in the long run, maybe this will wake up the government and we'll get the answers we need. Sure. Not in the short run. Actually, interest rates are going down. And what would you do, say you're a billionaire oil producer? Where would you put the money? The only kind of bonds you can buy at present where you won't disrupt the whole country and drive up the price of bonds is in the United States. So I think we'll still see money coming in here to safeguard it in our Treasury securities, which will be completely safe despite the Standard & Poor's rating. Well, it's much ado about nothing, but it's another knock against confidence in the United States, and it was uncalled for. Through a rating agency that missed the whole housing collapse. In the short run, it could affect it in the long run, but most of the banks, I think, will be all right with their securities. They own a lot of these securities, government securities. Money market funds will be all right. Their ratings were not downgraded. So I don't think there should be any rush to act because of this happening. What they should be doing is looking about jobs, which is a disaster at present. First of all, we have to keep the safety net whole. We have over 20 million people that are unemployed, much more than the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the government reports, because many people that are unemployed do not have a landline to get in their survey or permanent residence. When I was working in the Congress, I looked into this for Jesse Jackson Jr., congressman. The south side of Chicago had no unemployment. But when you go there, you see all the people unemployed. And they said, well, these people don't have permanent residences. Many of them don't have landlines. Big news. So the unemployment survey understates the unemployment. What should we do now? Keep the safety net intact, extend the 99-month payments for the unemployed, and stop all the regulations going into effect now. And that includes the new Health Care Act that's really hurting employers. I have a huge list of regulations that any employer that employs over 50 people will have to look into. Then every individual in the United States, beginning in 2014, will have to pay, if they don't have insurance, $95, and it'll go up to $695. How are they going to do that? That's already in the courts. They think it's unconstitutional. But the Dodd-Frank bill, now, Dodd is a very good, and Frank is a friend of mine. I used to work on the committee with him. But whether you like the laws or not, that's 5,000 pages of regulations you're pouring on business people. What if you're going to open a business here in Austin, a small business, and you don't have lawyers and accountants that can go through this pounds and pounds of regulations? You'd think twice, and so would the banker that's lending to you. Now, one other thing, if I could mention, it's my specialty. I spent a long time with Henry B. Gonzalez investigating the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is one of the culprits of the present job crisis. The Federal Reserve, 1 month after the big financial disaster, 2008 September, they started paying interest if banks would hold reserves. It was a terrible move because it was incentive for banks not to lend to people and to small businesses. Today, as we speak, the banks have $1.6 trillion tied up in their reserves. Immediately, the Fed should stop paying interest on reserves, and they won't do it because there's a conflict of interest, because the banks are on all their boards of directors, and they don't want to make it unpleasant for them. You might look at my blog on Huffington about the terrible thing the Fed has done for unemployment in this country.
It is.
Not the present debt. This is what I got off the net today. This is from the U.S. Treasury Department, and it is August 4th. It's pretty up to date. The debt that everybody's yelling about, 14.5 trillion, that includes securities owned by the U.S. government, that the government owes itself. They are not part of our public debt. The public debt at present is 9.8 trillion, about a third as much. Stop that clock that they keep showing in New York City. They're all using the wrong numbers. It's not 14.5 trillion, it's a third less than that. That's money that's owed the public, including foreign countries. Now, the unfunded liabilities are enormous, but that is not our present national debt. Standard & Poor's and all the people yelling about the national debt should get the right figure. You can look at my article. It's the Social Security lockbox and the national debt. It's a big shock, but we can do something about it. I don't agree that we should raise marginal tax rates, but we should close up all the loopholes, and they're huge loopholes. If I could mention just one, when you get a lot of money, you don't want to pay income tax anymore. Warren Buffett knows that. You take everything in capital gains. For example, if you're making a movie and they want to give you $20 million for the movie, you don't want to give half of it back to state and federal taxes. So you buy some stock in the distribution company. The end of the year, when the movie goes out and the distribution company stock goes up, you sell it and just pay 15%. Everybody does that. That's why Warren Buffett said he pays less tax, about 17%, than his secretary. And that's just one tremendous loophole, but there are many others, and we can work on cleaning those up.
Confidence.
Yes, it destroys confidence. It may hurt the markets, but after a while people may say, well, maybe it was a good thing that we're starting to wake up and we'll fix our unfunded liabilities. We've got to do what the Simpson-Bowles Committee asked and think of it's very easy to fix some of these unfunded liabilities, and we're not going to take anybody off of Medicare or any people that have retired on pensions. It doesn't touch them. It changes the age that we start receiving those benefits, and also on Medicare, there needs to be some kind of payment for going to get medical care, especially if you're wealthy. Some kind of payment. If it's free, everyone that's taken Economics 101 knows there'll be excess demand. It'll be overused. They've got to do something like that, but nobody has the guts to do it because politically it's the third rail. But now it's time.